So what did you think of the next match, Brian? Ty Conti and Hikaru Shida. What do you give me your impressions first?
You know, I went into it open-minded and stoned, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Ty Conti has...
You know, this is going to get old with you being a drug addict now. Or what's next? You're going to rob a bank?
You know what? Hikaru Shida may have my favorite theme music of anyone in AEW. I really like it. Puts me in a good mood. It was an all right match. Ty Conti has a lot of potential. I keep reading these interviews or these comments that Hikaru Shida's dream is the not main event necessarily, but to be AEW Women's Champion on a show with a lot of fans, which makes me think maybe they're holding off on any title change for a while.
Oh, good. Just so she can have her dream?
Well, that's what wrestling's about. It's about taking these young athletes and having all their dreams come true.
Can you imagine what would have been said if somebody had asked me when I was a booker, or if I had asked anybody, any booker I ever worked for, say, could you hold off switching the belts until there was a real big crowd there?
Well, no, we don't know that she did that. We only know that she said it to someone who reported it in various news sites. We don't know that the conversation...
And I can believe that they would then humor her. Oh, well, let's make sure we don't hurt Shida's feelings. Well, I'll tell you what I thought of it. I thought they used up 18 minutes of national TV time with their phony bullshit, and I skipped it. And I don't know what her music sounds like because I skip all the entrances because that takes less time to watch this fucking program. Because I wanted to see what Chris Jericho and his group, the Dinner Circle, have to say for themselves. I stole that off Twitter. Somebody said Jericho isn't running the Inner Circle, he's running the Dinner Circle. And I agree. In 2 weeks, Chris Jericho has gone from former evil heel coming back for revenge to full-on smiling, crowd pandering, you guys are great babyface. And I know he knows how to work as both a heel and a babyface, but a lot of times, even guys you would think, don't know how to switch. And the rule of thumb in my mind has always been, and the best heel to babyface switches that I've ever seen or that have drawn the most money in the history of the territories basically worked like this. When the heel switches, he's still the same fucking dirty heel, but the people want to see him pull all of his dirty tricks and cheap tactics and shortcuts and fucking foreign objects and whatever on that goddamn new heel that he's mad at. They want to see the heel be a heel against the other heels. They don't want to see the heel immediately come out now that he's switched babyface and be smiling and happy and hug their kids. And
that's what WWE does.
Well, and that's not right. Imagine that. They do something not right. That's what I followed when the Midnight Express switched heel or switched babyface. When I switched babyface, I followed that principle and it worked as long as I had somebody in the opposite corner, Paul E., so the odds were even, and as long as the Midnight were still allowed to do their shit that they did as heels that got them over, which the original Midnight were willing to let them do. But once we lost either of those things, in terms of matches in the ring, when the Midnight would wrestle fucking Fatu and Samu, and all they wanted to do was their shit because they were being egged on by the booker that was about to be fired, George Scott, and we couldn't have a goddamn match with them because all they wanted to do was their shit and sell each other missed headbutts or whatever, then the matches were shit because the Midnight couldn't do their heel shit, and even though Paul E. was in the Samoans' corner, then when we would go against heels that had no manager, then I was a fucking spare prick at the wedding. So, and a lot of times heels have fallen into that trap where they start working like baby faces and acting like baby faces. And obviously you have to an extent because you can't fuck the match up and have the heel work like a heel and the new baby face, old heel work still like a heel and the other guy work like a baby face. You can't do that, but the heel still has to be heelish and do some of his shit that got him over. And even Lawler, after a while, when he switched babyface the first full-fledged time in 77, By about after the Joe LeDuc program, about mid-late 78, he was having to start cutting the promos. You're going to see the old king come back. Because all of a sudden he was a babyface who was getting taken advantage of by the other heels. And the fans remembered, well, this guy used to be the dirtiest motherfucker and he'd fucked everybody. So he would have to tease that. He'd throw the fire, he'd pull out a chain, or he'd do heelish shit in the babyface position to get the people to stay behind him. Anyway, they're selling blood and guts on free TV, the first ever meeting between these two groups, one group of whom didn't exist this time last month, after they've already beaten up the heels and blown off all the heat they got when they attacked the Inner Circle to begin with. Now, because the booker's a mark and wanted to have war games and didn't get to, now they're going to shoehorn it in here on free television and not sell any fucking tickets to it whatsoever and have the ultimate blow-off match as the first meeting, which, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, is like coming and then continuing to fuck for the next 30 minutes. Santana did a good promo here. He has talent. He doesn't get a chance to speak seriously very often, but he did well. And, you know, we've talked about he's got certain, he's got something to him, and his work when they're on, he's not bad. I wish Jericho would get some new lines, because he says that MJF was reciting his drama class lines his teacher gave him out of a script and has no conviction. They're going to the bone with each other, aren't they? Now everybody's upset when I say that. And actually, I say it about everybody except MJF, but they're upset when I say it, when Jericho says it. Well, then Jericho sang a show tune about MJF and botched the lyrics somehow, because I can't imagine he started that with that finish. He tried. Then after he's singing a show tune and has told some jokes, he tried to finish serious with violence and promising blood and guts. And next week, the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle are going to meet to discuss the battle plan. That's a thing that's always done, right? According to Chris Jericho.
They're going to parlay.
What, did he used to work for the United States Cavalry? Or what is his... So basically, they're advertising they're going to have these two groups face-to-face, so they'll have another angle, physical angle next week that will take more oomph off of their TV match the week after. I had to go get some ice cream and cake at that point. I just needed a refresher.
They finally get War Games, and they do the worst build you could possibly do to having War Games. We could talk about the fact they didn't even put it on their pay-per-view. It's going to be on free TV.
Yeah.
So we'll see how bloody it is or isn't. But this whole build, which to me, it's over based on the Inner Circle getting their revenge, but they're still mad they didn't get enough revenge. But these promos aren't helping anyone. Jericho wants to do his brand of comedy and his brand of entertainment, and then try to convince you that he's serious for a second, and then next week, the parlay between the two teams. This was needed? We've taken all of their heat, now we're going to stand in front of them again before the match.
And berate them, and we're all going to decide what the rules are in this match where there's no rules.
There are rules. There are defined rules for a War Games match. If they're going to use them or not, we'll see. Will there be a roof on the cage or not? We'll see.
Well, yes, there's rules of how the match takes place, but actually it's a no DQ match because it's an ultimate violent blow-off. And so what do they need to discuss?
Hey, let me ask you this, knowing what a big mark, in the nicest way, in the positive way, Tony Khan is, do you think they bring JJ back to do the coin toss? Right, wouldn't the Pinnacle bring him in? He's had so much success.
I think they would, but if that's the case, then somebody needs to keep an eye out for the coin and make sure it's not that two-headed coin he used to use. Anyway,